Hello everyone and welcome to Real Life Racing episode 14 and the last one in this series. Now I'll come on to what that means in a little while, but we're jumping straight into the start of the second race. The first race happened on this track in the previous episode, so if you haven't seen the previous episode, go and watch that, or at least watch it after this one's finished. There will be a lot of links in the description. So I was in 16th place for the start. I lost one position by someone getting a really good start. But you basically start the second race where you finish the first one just like normal. So that's why I started in 16th place, because I finished the first race in 16th place as we saw in the previous episode. So this time it's a lot neater around the first couple of corners. I still get pushed out wide a little bit, as you can see there, and people still just make moves up the inside and use you as a brake. But yeah, that's nothing's changing about that. That's what we saw in the previous episode as well. But at least I didn't have a big crash like I did in the first race. Now I am a little bit more used to the track at this point than what I was at the start of the last race. I'm a bit more used to the people who I'm driving against, but I'm still just trying to take it a bit easier on this first lap really. You know, I am aware that I'm still not 100% with the track. I'm still not perfect with what I'm doing. So again, I'm just looking to keep that consistency like I did in the previous episode and in the previous race. So yeah, the previous race was in the previous episode, and if you want to go and watch that, there'll be a link to the playlist for this real life racing series in the description, and then all you want is episode 13. And obviously I explained in that episode that I'm on a different track, just giving it a bit of a taster, having a try of it, seeing what it's like, and you guys will let me know whether you want to see more of it. Now I've made up a position there into 18th, and there's a big group in front of me, as you can see, who are all gunning for the same position. Now, really, I'm just happy to sit here for a few minutes, maybe just have a look, see what happens, because there are a lot of them all clambering for the same piece of tarmac. Now, that can only really end badly, you know, especially with what I've witnessed from the aggressiveness of people in the previous race. I'm expecting things to not go perfectly well with this. So I do get run out a little bit here, as you see just on the left there, and if I hadn't have let off the accelerator I would have been on the grass. But then what goes around comes around really, because that person goes up the inside of somebody else in a ridiculous way. It spins them around and I make up two positions. So yeah, I made up two places there and managed to get out of all of that mess, because now the carts that are in front of me are sort of more spread out, and I'm already back up to the position that I started in 16th place. So I obviously lost a few positions on the first couple of laps. Now I've gained those positions back again, and I'm back to where I started, and indeed back to where I finished the previous race. And you know, that's the highest that I've actually been throughout the course of the last two episodes. So it's not going too badly. You know, the track is drying a little bit more, but it is still wet around this section of the circuit because the sun isn't getting on it as much. Now what you'll see me do is try to experiment with a few different lines and use that new piece of tarmac that's going right down the middle of that section there. I'll point it out on the next lap. Basically what I'd figured out is that using that new piece of tarmac was a lot more grippy than the older stuff on the inside, and it was quicker for me to do that. Although I was going a little bit wider and I was kind of leaving the door open to people to come down the inside, I was feeling that that was the better line, the quicker line, because it was a wetter track. And as you can see, you know, I am racing with a little bit more confidence now. I'm able to catch up to these guys a little bit better, whereas before in the previous episode, you know, I got to 16th place and then that was really it. But even getting those positions that I did in that episode, it was reasonably difficult, and I was kind of on the same pace. So it's encouraging at this point to notice that I am a little bit quicker, and this is sort of the new piece of tarmac that I'm on about, where I want to stay on that rather than going on the older stuff, which seems to be a little bit less grippy. So yeah, I'm able to fight with these guys now. I'm sort of catching them up a little bit. I'm driving with a little bit more confidence compared to what I did in the first race. You know, it's only early in the race and I'm already in the same position that I was in at the end of the previous race. So I'm happy with what I've done so far, and I'm ready to push on and kind of make up some more positions and really improve my performance from what I did last time. So as you can see here, I get a good run through that corner and manage to come alongside all three of the other two, all three of us are going down the straight together, but they have a bit better top speed than I do in the kart, so they get just ahead of me in this bit. But then I managed to just get a good line through here, which again, as I said, it allows that person to get up on the inside of me there, but overall it's giving me the better line around all of the corners. So you know, over the, that's what I was talking about in the previous episode, how the track is so wide that there are so many different lines into all of these corners, and it might be that you go wide and lose a position on the first part of the corner, but because you've gone wide, you've got a better line for the second part of the corner, and you just gain that position back again, like you saw there. So you know, it's just a balancing act really, and it's something that, you know, I'm trying to get used to when I'm driving this track. Obviously I made up a position there, and I managed to sort of get right on the back bumper of this person who had been ahead of me. You know, he'd been quite far ahead of me throughout that section, and I've been able to catch up. So I'm definitely driving a lot better than I did in the previous episode. You know, that's definitely the case. And he goes off a little bit wide, so I make up that position on the left, but then someone comes down on the inside of me. It was the same person who came on the inside of me before, and I just don't manage to get the undercut done on him this time. But again, you know, I'm making up positions. I'm able to stick with these guys and really be able to pass these guys a lot easier than what I did in the first race, and that's obviously encouraging to see. Now, this was the guy in the kart in front was someone who I was racing against in the previous race, and really we were on the same sort of pace. Whereas now I'm able to catch him up, and I'm looking for ways to get past him, and that's all because I'm just building that experience every single lap. Every single lap that I go on this track, I'm wanting to get some more experience, get better at the track, and I'm just learning all the time as we go through. All my experiences from the previous championship are all coming into it as well, and are just allowing me to improve a lot easier. But then unfortunately the inevitable happens. Someone comes up on the inside there and just catches me at the right point and spins me around. Now, one of the guys who passed there was a backmarker who we just passed, but basically I ended up losing 3 positions from that. So I'm back down. I had been up in the 15th place, really pushing on for a 14th place, but now I'm back down in 18th again, which is a total nightmare. You know, I was pretty happy with how I'd raced at that point, but then here I am back in 18th again, and you know, a good number of seconds I lost there. I'm reasonably far behind the guys who I was racing against, up in sort of 15th, 14th place. And it's funny that the same person who hit me in the previous episode to cause the crash at the very start of the race, the same person who hit me there was the same person who took me out here as well. So it's basically one person who's been a bit of a nightmare for me across both of the races. But I managed to get up into 17th place at this point by overtaking that guy, and now I've got a clear track ahead of me really. You know, I'm just looking to try and catch up to the people who have just basically taken me out. You know, I'm full of hell at this point. I'm mad, and I start driving a little bit differently as well. So I'd been up to this point really driving the same sort of way, which was driving to a wet line, you know, imagining that the track was more damp than it actually is. So the track was drying a little bit in certain places, and after I'd sort of had that spin, I was mad enough to really try it out and start going around the corners a lot quicker. And that's what I did. You know, I started being able to get more speed in from the kart, and my lap times really did improve. And what you'll see is that I'll gradually reel in the guys who I was racing against on the same pace as. I'll reel them in very, very quickly, and that's what'll happen over the next sort of 5 minutes of the video, because I do have a clear track ahead of me, and all I'm doing is just focusing on putting in those clean laps with those quick lap times. So whilst you're watching that and whilst that's happening, I'll explain a little bit more about this real life racing series and how it's going to be progressing in the future. So the very first race that I ever showed of me racing was an endurance race, and it was in Real Life Racing episode 1. I pretty much simply called it Introduction, and it was just kind of a taster of, is this something that you guys would want to see? You know, that was about a year ago that I uploaded that, and those who were subscribed to me at the time showed interest, so I started doing this series regularly about the championship that I took part in last year that you guys all watched. So that's all for 2014 basically, and what I'm going to do is consider that to be the 2014 real life racing series, and I'm going to start afresh for 2015. So this is basically going to be the last episode in the current series as we know it in terms of 2014, although the endurance race in the introductory video happened on something like the 29th of December 2013, and this race happened on the 4th of January 2015. I'm still just going to bundle all that together in the 2014 series. So this is going to be the last episode in the 2014 series, and I'm going to be starting again from Real Life Racing number 1, but that will be for the 2015 series. So yeah, this is kind of, it's nice to have ended it in a little bit of a different way, you know, on a different track, trying out a different experience, and it's been helpful to me to be able to sort of explain this to you guys in a video like this so that you know what's going to be happening with the series. So what I'm also going to do, and I may have already done by the time this video goes up, is update all of the thumbnails for all of the previous real life racing videos and the descriptions and all that kind of stuff. I'm going to update all of it, even though they're old videos. I do want them to still be there for people to watch. So I want to update all the thumbnails, and they're all going to have individual pictures for the thumbnails and be in the same sort of format as what I do for my current GTA stuff. They'll basically look a lot better than what they used to, and you'll probably already have noticed that change from this video and the previous video as well. So that's what I'm going to do for the 2014 series, and this is going to be the final one in the 2014 Real Life Racing series. Now the 2015 Real Life Racing series is going to start with an endurance race. So just like the 2014 series did with the introduction video, that started with an endurance race before the season started, and I put it up just to see if you guys would want to see the main championship. The 2015 season is also going to start with an endurance race. Now I'm planning to get this video up that you're watching now, hopefully, I'm obviously recording it beforehand, but hopefully I'll get it up before that endurance race starts. So the endurance race is on the 31st of January. Now I'm going to be live tweeting all night. You know, it starts at about 4 o'clock UK time, 4 PM, and runs for maybe till 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock. I'll probably be tweeting constantly. So if you guys want to be involved in that, feel free to follow me on Twitter. I'll post on maybe on the crew forums as well. That will be all happening on the 31st of January. By the time this video goes up, it will probably only be a few days away, but feel free to follow me on Twitter and get involved in all that way. I'm going to be calling out our team. I suspect will be called Nonchalant Dominance, so we'll be representing the crew in a real life karting race. It's a long endurance race for 2 hours, and we have teams of 2 basically, so it'll be me and somebody else racing for 2 hours straight, and we'll just see what happens. Now I'm going to put up a video about that, and that will be the first episode of the 2015 series, as I mentioned. So that will start the 2015 series off, and then from then we'll continue with the regular championship that you're all used to. I might throw in a few rounds of this championship on the track that you're watching now, but that will basically be the start of the official 2015 series. So yeah, feel free to follow me on Twitter and all that kind of stuff, and I will be sort of explaining how we go on that night. So the 31st of January, from 4 o'clock UK time onwards, that's when the endurance race is going to be starting, and I'll make sure to keep you all updated as we go. So back to the race, and you'll see 2 guys just ahead of me. I've been managing to catch up to those guys for the previous 5 minutes, say, and one of those guys is the person who knocked me off to be as far back as what I was. So I'm at that point where I want to get a bit of revenge. I want to be able to pass these guys, and to me it's encouraging at this point during the race that I've been so far behind them with a clear track for all that time, and I've put in some really quick laps and been able to catch up to them. Now in terms of the best lap that I ever did around this track in the first episode, I mentioned that I was around 2 seconds off the pace of the top guys. So the guys who won the race, I was about 2 seconds a lap off the pace of those guys. By the end of this race, I was only about 6 or 7 tenths off the pace. And considering this is the first sort of hour that I'd even been on the track really in a racing format such as this, that was pretty encouraging, you know. And I was going a lot quicker by the end of the second race in comparison to everybody else than what I was in the first race. And that's noticeable here, because you can just see me being able to reel these guys in. Now, I was racing against these guys in the first race, you know. I was battling with them. They were overtaking me, I was overtaking them. We were kind of running the same sort of pace. Now though, I've seen a massive improvement because I'm able to catch these guys really quickly. As we've just seen, I was so far behind and I've been able to reel them in. Now in the first race that just wouldn't have happened. I would have just stayed behind. So that's encouraging, you know. That it's good to see that kind of improvement even just over this. And I managed to get the sort of undercut there, get underneath that guy, and get back into the 16th place that I initially started with. So the guy just in front of us now is actually the person who knocked me off. So this is the same guy who knocked me off in the first race to have that big shunt right at the start. Oh, and there you go. There's another example of the aggressiveness of people. Him coming into the side of me there after he'd been overtaken. Yeah. So the guy in front of me knocked me off in the first race, and caused me to have that big shunt. And he also knocked me off in this race. He's pretty much the cause of why I was so far behind in the first place, and I've been able to reel him back in over the course of the last, say, 7 laps or whatever it was. So again, that's encouraging, you know. I'm pretty happy that I've been able to do that. But now I want some revenge, you know. I want to be able to overtake him. The fact that I've been able to catch him up, I was really happy about. Now I want to overtake him, and I want to drive away from him and show him that, you know, even though you've knocked me off, I'm still better than you. So you do feel that when you're in a race, you know, even if it wasn't intentional by him, you do still feel that motivation to get past someone like that when something like this has happened and someone's knocked you off and you've been able to catch up to him. So in the end, he just does it all for me. You know, I didn't even need to do anything. He makes a mistake there, spins out a little bit, and I'm able to get that position. So I'm back into the 15th place that I had when I was knocked off in the first place. So these are just back markers that we're passing now, and then the next guy up the road will be the person who I was battling with, Kart number 1 if you remember, the person who I was battling with when I got knocked off. So it's an interesting balance really, how this all works. You know, you can be so far behind because you've been knocked off, and in the first race I would have just stayed that far behind because I was on the same pace as these guys. But because I was knocked off, I pushed a little bit harder. I tried a little bit harder. I tried to figure out the track a little bit better and drive a little bit quicker, and that's allowed me to go significantly quicker. And as I said, I was only 6 or 7 tenths per lap off the top guys by the end, after having been 2 seconds a lap off. And that was kind of on the pace of the top 5. So if I'd been running this pace all the way through, I would have been in that top 5 to top 10 positions. So that's encouraging, you know. That's good. I've been able to go to a brand new track like this with no experience of the track really, jump straight into a high quality, high level race such as this, and be able to, by the end of the race, be on the pace of the top guys, you know, there or thereabouts anyway, close enough for me to consider this sort of a successful race. And as I said, you know, people who I was racing against in the previous race, I'm just flying past now, catching up to them really quickly and being able to get past them really quickly as well. So that's all good, you know. That I'm happy with that. That'll do me. Now, I've never really considered myself someone to be a quick learner, you know. I tend not to be able to just jump into something and be able to grasp it straight away, or be better than everybody else straight away. I would say that I'm more of a good learner, you know. I can jump into something, put some time and effort into it, and I will learn better than others who put in the same sort of time and effort. That's what I've always considered myself to be like. I'm not a quick learner, right? You know, I couldn't just jump into this race and be able to be bam straight on the pace of the top guys and be fighting for the top, you know. And that's for me, that's just not something that I can do. and I am aware of that. You know that when you've got to be aware of all these things, your shortcomings and things like that, to be able to improve all the time. And that's you know, there's nothing wrong with having different ways of learning and things like that, or being slow to start with and quick later on. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just each person is individually different, and that's how I am in terms of most of the things that I do. So yeah, it is encouraging. The one thing that I wouldn't like is to come to something like this and not improve. So say for example I qualified in 15th place and then finished the race in 15th place and then finished the second race in 15th place as well. You know, that would really annoy me. That I would hate that so much. All I want to do is show some improvement and just get a little bit better every time. So that's what it's all about for me, and I love racing. I love doing it. I know that I don't have a lot of experience. I have some experience, obviously. Oh, and I get an overtake there. Just somebody was off on the left-hand side there. It took me ages to find that in the footage. I knew that I'd finished in the position that I did, and I knew that I'd overtaken this specific kart at some point, but I couldn't for the life of me find it. But yeah, he was just off to the left there. He must have been taken out or made a mistake or something like that. So I got a position there. So up into 14th, which is where I qualified in the qualifying session. The guy in front of me in the red, I'm not racing. The guy in front of him, I am racing. So the guy directly in front of me is a back marker. The guy in front of him, I am actually racing for position. And this is the same guy who I was racing with when I got taken out. So yeah, you know, that it would really annoy me if I didn't improve. You know, and I continued to be the same speed, the same position. That would really annoy me. But as long as I am improving, that makes me happy. I love to race, and I'm aware that my experience level isn't as much as some other guys, and that's fine. You know, I'm okay with that. I just enjoy what I'm doing, and I just want to improve all the time. Now, I'm not sure why this guy pulled over to the left there, whether he did actually pull over and slow down or he had an issue or something, but that was another position for me, so I'll be happy about that. I don't know whether he thought that I was like, he was getting lapped by the leaders again. Now, the leaders wouldn't have been all that far behind me, coming around to sort of lap everybody. They wouldn't have been that much further behind me, but I'm not sure why he would have thought that I was the leader, apart from the fact that I did come up on him pretty quickly in terms of the lap times that I was doing. So maybe that's why he moved over to the side. I don't know. I'll probably never know, but I don't care. That's another position for me. 13th place, and that is the highest position that I've been in throughout the entirety of the two races that we've seen, even that I didn't even qualify this high. So as I said, improvement all the time. Even being knocked off in both the races, I'm still higher than what I managed to initially qualify at by the end of the second race. So that's all good for me. I'm happy with that. So that's a back marker just in front. 2 more laps to go. We've got that. We're running about 57-second lap times now. So you know, we're getting not very long to go, and there is one guy just in front of me who I will be racing against. So there will be a back marker that will pass, but there is one more guy who I'm catching up again very, very quickly, just like with everybody else. Can I get him by the end? That is the question. So not the guy in front of us, but the guy in front of him, I am racing for position, if you want to follow that right till the end. So yeah, as I said, you know, this is the final episode in the 2014 real life racing series. The 2015 real life racing series will be back with the footage from that endurance race on the 31st of January. But if you want to know how it goes, follow me on Twitter and all that kind of stuff, and I'll keep you updated as we are doing the race. So I'll be tweeting when I'm not in the kart. I'll be tweeting to you guys, letting you know how we're doing, and letting you know how the Nonchalant Dominance team fares in that endurance race. And of course, if you want to go and watch the previous endurance race in the very first episode of this series, the introductory episode, you can go watch that, and that will give you an idea of the sort of thing that we'll be doing on the 31st of January. Again, the playlist link will be in the description, so that's where you can check it all out. So the last few corners of the last lap, one guy just in front of me. As you've seen over the last 2 laps, I've been able to catch him up very, very quickly, and I'm right on his back bumper at this point. This is the final the final corner at this point of the final lap. Can I get one more position? I get a good run out of here and just get a bit of extra speed. We're coming up to the line right now, and I just push my luck a little bit just to get on the inside there and managed to get that position right at the end. I think I finished about 1/10 of a second ahead at the line. So there you have it, managed to get into 12th position by the end. A pretty good race overall. So thanks a lot for watching, everyone. I really do appreciate your support as always. Be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed, and leave all your comments down below about what you thought. And I hope to see you all soon for 2015. Thanks a lot for watching, everyone, and I'll see you next time.